Here we go again. It is snowing in Kansas City. We got at least a couple of inches on the ground right now. The roads not in great shape, but it is a powdery snow. There is no ice as far as I can tell underneath that snow. So coming in on 435 this morning, going about 30, 35 miles an hour. There's no tracks, though. You're not going to see where you're going. There is blowing snow as well. So definitely want to take your time if you do have to go in today. We are not dealing with what we were dealing with 5 weeks ago. That's the good news. I mean, we're all scarred from that snowmageddon, blizzard, ice storm we had in early January. This is not that. That being said, you still want to take plenty of time this morning if you have to go out. I know schools are closed all over the metro today, so take it easy. We had Mark up in the old hotel down the street last night, Mark, so you hang in there all right, my man?
Yep, watched the end of the KU game, did my taxes, and now ready to go.
Wait, gosh, now you're making me feel like a bum. You did your taxes? You're all done for the year?
Yeah, I told my wife, I said, you know what, if I have to leave you with the 3 kids, I'll at least go do the taxes so I can feel like I'm getting something accomplished.
Oh, gosh, what a guy.
Such a nice man.
What a guy. So your taxes are done. And you're all set for the year.
Yeah, they even accepted. I got a text at about 5 o'clock this morning. It said, your Kansas taxes were accepted.
Okay. Are you getting a little back from the state and Uncle Sam there, or what do you got going on? You owe money, or are you trying to break even?
I had to pay Kansas just a little bit.
Okay.
And I got a decent chunk from the federal.
Okay. So. All right. Good for you, man. Good for you. Well, Mark's having a great morning. Spends the night in a hotel, KU wins, and his taxes are done. Nice job. Wow, this guy, I'll tell you. Man, I didn't have that kind of a night. I just went to sleep hoping I could get in here this morning, which I did. But I will tell you, the worst part from driving this morning is I was going about, like I said, 30, 35. And as is always the case, it's like clockwork. Got a couple of heroes in the left lane. Hey, man, I got 4-wheel drive. I'm going 50. It's a beautiful day out. When they would blow past you, the wind, and it's not super windy, but it's windy enough, and the snow is powdery enough where there would be a temporary kind of whiteout because the wheels would kick up the snow as they were blowing past you in the left lane, and I'd have to turn my wipers on really quickly to get it kind of out of the way, because that wind was kicking up the snow and it was blowing, and it created this like 4 to 5 second whiteout condition. Now, there were not many cars on the road, so I wasn't overly concerned about it. I knew it was in front of me, but that's where it can get dicey this morning because the plows have not been out there yet today. So just give yourself plenty of time. You will be okay if you have to go out, but, you know, if you can stay in, that's probably for the best. Now, in the meantime, we're going to talk to Nathan Brennan, KCTV5. He will be here coming up in about 10 minutes or so. He's been driving all over the metro this morning, so he'll tell you the good spots, the bad spots, what to keep an eye out for, and much more when we talk to him here in about 10 minutes or so. And then Kansas City City Manager Brian Platt will join us at 6:35 this morning and get us the update on how Kansas City is handling this latest snowstorm. Expectations are basically right around 5 to 6 inches for most of the metro. That is down from the 5 to 10 we were expecting. So numbers have come down. That's because the storm expected to move out faster than originally anticipated. Should be done by about early to mid-afternoon, depending on where you're at. But right now, it is the thick of this storm, so it's coming down heavy, and the roads are very, very slow this morning. Give yourself plenty of time, and you can just stream us on the phone if you're working from home today, KCMO Talk Radio app, iHeart app, or, of course, the TuneIn app. So yesterday, I received this email from my Congresswoman, Sharice Davids. Do you get the Sharice Davids emails, Mark, in your personal or work email? I get them in both, so I see them all the time.
I get them randomly. I haven't seen one this morning, but...
Oh, well, this one came in yesterday at about lunchtime, so you
might have gone to the junk mail.
It might have gone to your junk mail. That's okay. Well, if you are a constituent of Sharice Davids, 3rd District, Kansas side of the state line, you probably get these emails. And I thought it was fascinating because she sends this email out, and the headline is urgent. Elon Musk and budget survey. And it says, "Hi, Pete." Hello, Sharice. I know good ideas can come from Republicans and Democrats. That includes, there she goes, middle of the road. That includes cutting wasteful spending. Both parties should work to lower our debt. But this requires pragmatism, not extremism. An unelected billionaire should not be able to possibly access Kansans' private information or be able to possibly interrupt Social Security and Medicare payments that Kansans depend on to live safe, healthy lives. I know this issue can raise strong feelings. As your representative, it's important for me to always listen to you. Please click below to begin taking my survey. Here's the question in the email from Sharice Davids in the survey. Quote, how do you think the United States government should address the nation's budget? And there are three questions, or three options on this question. Option one, bipartisan compromise by the people's representatives in the House and the Senate. Option two, entrusting Elon Musk. Option three, I don't know. Well, if that's not a trick question that's desired to get a specific outcome, I don't know what is. Option one, bipartisan compromise by the people's representatives in the House and the Senate. Option two, entrusting Elon Musk. The email goes on to say, Mr. Musk is an unelected billionaire. I'm very concerned his access to federal payment systems could let him see Kansans' private information. I'm also concerned this could lead to interruptions of Social Security and Medicare payments. Spare me. Please, Congresswoman, spare me. I read this whole email. You know what's interesting? Trump's name doesn't come up once. Elon Musk is their new boogeyman. It's not Trump. They've given up on trying to take down Donald Trump. Now their boogeyman is Elon Musk. And I love how suddenly it's the Democratic Party that is concerned about unelected officials wielding power in Washington, D.C. I mean, it's that right there is comical. There are 2 million federal employees. Between them and appointed judges, that is the swamp right there in Washington, D.C. When you talk about the swamp, that's really at its core what you're talking about. Unelected, nameless, faceless bureaucrats combined with judges who are doing the bidding of the swamp itself. And now Elon Musk, who may be this generation's Einstein, shows up and is like, hey, I think we can seriously clean this budget up. And it doesn't take as long as the politicians insist it's going to take. Well, okay, that sounds pretty good to me. I don't know many Americans that would be or should be against that. And that's Republican or Democrat, right? I mean, if you're talking about figuring out where the fraud, the wasteful spending, and the abuseful spending is, even if you vote for Democrats, why would you be against that? Why is that something that you would not want to find out from your government? And with all due respect to the Congresswoman, the people's representatives haven't done a damn thing on this front for decades. We're $36 trillion in debt. And I got to listen to Sharice Davids put out an email here and say, we need bipartisan compromise to fix the budget. You've been in office since 2018. What leadership have you shown on this front? I mean, give me an honest answer. What leadership have you shown on this front? And on top of that, why would I entrust somebody whose background, with all due respect, is relatively limited on issues like budgeting compared to Elon Musk's, who has shown a willingness in the private sector with all of his businesses, Tesla, X, SpaceX, the list goes on, and has built some of the great companies of the current generation. Why would I not give him a chance when the duly elected president who won the popular vote and had a historical electoral college landslide victory for a Republican has said, you know what, you're in charge of this. I want to see what we can do to get this deficit down and try to start reducing this debt in some capacity. So there's twofold here with this email sent out by Congresswoman Davids. One is the way that Trump's name never shows up and Elon has been their boogeyman. And number two, the presumption that people are scared off by this unelected billionaire Elon Musk. I will have audio throughout the morning I will play for you because Elon was speaking yesterday in the Oval Office. And frankly, it is just total common sense. It's not super conservative. It's not like uber Republican. It's not right wing. It's just common sense that you apply in the private sector every single day. But God forbid you apply it to government and it's like suddenly a constitutional crisis. We'll get to more of it here on KCMO. A snowy Wednesday morning across Kansas City. Nathan Brennan, KCTV5, he's out on the roads. He'll give us an update here around the metro on 95.7 FM. Brian Platt, Kansas City City Manager, is also going to be here this hour on KCMO. Well, it's a Wednesday morning. The snow is falling across Kansas City, and we're glad you're here on KCMO Talk Radio. And our buddy Nathan Brennan, KCTV5 reporter, has had a busy morning already. As always, he is the man all over the roads of Kansas City. Nathan, good morning. What are you seeing out there?
Well, good morning to you, Pete. Always great to be on your program this early in the morning. And fortunately for me, I'm telling everyone to stay inside while I'm outside. The snow is falling. The wind is blowing. It is actually kind of a winter wonderland. It's kind of beautiful in Kansas City, but don't let that fool you because definitely some slick conditions that we're seeing so far. So we're just off of 71 Highway near 22nd Street over by Children's Mercy. We've noticed that there's a lot of packed snow both on the highway, overpasses, ramps, places like that. So definitely a heads up as you start your morning commute. Fortunately, that snowstorm that we had in January, I would say we saw a lot more ice that time around. This is the white, fluffy, powdery snow, so not as much ice, but definitely going to slow down your morning commute. And just be aware of those slick spots because they'll catch up on you.
Where have you been so far this morning?
Well, getting into work, it was actually probably around 3 o'clock this morning. I took I-35 south. Not too bad conditions when I got out this morning. I know that we've been talking about a lot worse conditions throughout the morning as we've kind of gotten into the morning rush hour. We've been mainly in the KCMO area. Again, like I said, right now we're at 71 Highway, 22nd Street, primarily KCMO. Will say, too, Pete, shout out to the crews in Kansas City, Missouri. We have seen a couple plows out on the roads this morning.
Is that right? Already? We're going to talk to City Manager Brian Platt here in about 10 minutes. So you're saying that I should give him some props and tell his crew that they're doing a great job so far in the early morning hours because Kansas, at least as of about 90 minutes ago, Kansas was not touched.
Yeah, I definitely would give him a bit of a shout-out, and I can confirm, boots on the ground, we have seen snowplows out on the road, so I know they are putting forth some type of effort here this morning.
All right, that's very good. Very good. So right now you're on the Missouri side of things. Where are you going to be heading around the metro this morning?
So we're staying primarily here for the next hour or so because they decided they did not want to put me in the weather tracker today. They said, how cold and miserable can we make Nathan this morning? We're going to throw him outside. So I'm very blessed. I'm very fortunate to be stuck in this situation this morning. So for the next hour or so, we'll be in Missouri. I know that we're thinking about heading over to a salt dome on the Kansas side, crossing state lines here in the next hour or so. So we'll be on both sides of the state line around the entire metro. But again, if you head out the door this morning, you're starting your morning commute, give yourself some extra time. We're seeing these snow-packed roads. It will be slick. Fortunately, though, what we saw last January, I don't think we're talking about any historic type of snowstorm.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Roads are much better. Couldn't be much worse than last month, but definitely better. So with that, how are the folks driving out there? Are you seeing some yahoos or are people being okay?
Pete, I'm glad that you brought that up because, yes, I have seen a Yahoo this morning. So, again, a heads up if you're going over an overpass, bridges, on and off ramps. That's where you're not going to see the ice as much, but those areas see a lot more ice. There was a guy that really decided he wanted to show off his muffler this morning, Pete, so he was flying through that overpass, muffler blaring this morning. That is incredibly dangerous. Please, if you're on an overpass bridge, do not floor it. Don't show off your muffler because those spots specifically are very, very dangerous in these conditions.
Yeah, that stuff doesn't turn Nathan on, all right? If you want to pick him up, there are different ways and better ways to do it. I'm just going to leave it at that. Well, listen, man, keep up the great work. We'd love to check in with you throughout the morning, and we'll make sure that people are staying safe out there. We appreciate it, Nathan.
Appreciate you as always. Thank you, Pete.
All right, Nathan Brennan, KCTV5, doing good work there. He's right now on the Missouri side of the state line on KCMO 95.7 FM. But only seeing one, that's pretty good. I mean, so far, that's pretty good. I only saw one coming in this morning at about 4:45, 5 o'clock, give or take, right in there. Taking my time, 30 miles an hour, down 435. Not all that bad. I mean, not good, but not awful if you take your time there, Mark.
Yeah, I was, just around the corner, but I was the first one to make tracks through Corporate Woods, so I thought that was kind of fun.
Yes, you were the first guy.
Yeah, I don't often get to be the first one. Usually through my neighborhood, there's been some people driving through, but Corporate Woods right over here. First tracks.
First tracks. Oh, man. Did you take a picture of it for posterity or no?
I couldn't. I mean,
a little too dark.
I could have, I guess, but I was driving. So.
Yeah, I know. I figured you'd get one on the way into the building or something like that.
I should have.
Yeah.
I missed my opportunity.
You did. It's all right. You'll be fine. There'll be another opportunity for you, Mark. I promise. You know, the music stations, they can kind of do their little thing from home. But for us, this is obviously, I mean, every day's a big day right now. The news cycle's just going bonkers. But especially when you think about a day like today, from a news perspective, we're going to be here. That's why Mark was up in the big hotel last night, and I was able to make my way in. Really no problem. Just got to give yourself some extra time if you're getting around and have to be out this morning. Most schools, obviously, doing either virtual learning or just closed today. Now, Mark, you had the big parent-teacher conference. Is it canceled yet?
I still need to look at the email for that. We actually rescheduled one that was supposed to be today and went on Monday. So.
Mark was hoping today was going to be a Super Bowl rally.
Yeah.
So he was trying to weasel his way out of a parent-teacher conference. But now you might have to go to it in 5 inches of snow.
Potentially.
We'll see how it plays out. It's great to have you here on KCMO 95.7 FM, always streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Glad you're a part of it. Coming up, we are going to hear from Brian Platt. He is the Kansas City, Missouri city manager. Listen, I thought overall, Kansas City, Missouri, which has had a history of doing an awful job when it comes to snowstorms, all things considered, with a historic storm last month, did a pretty good job. So this today should be child's play, right? Kansas City Congressman Emmanuel Cleaver has woken from his multi-year slumber, it seems. He's got a little pep in his step. The former Kansas City mayor and now congressman for Missouri's 5th Congressional District. I'll tell you why, and why I'm also not buying it, coming up here on KCMO Talk Radio. The snow is falling. The roads, take your time this morning, seeing slower traffic than usual, as you would imagine. Just after 7 o'clock, people are either staying home. If you're out there, definitely give yourself some time today, as we still have a couple inches of snow to come. I'd say there's 2 or 3 inches on the ground right now, and we'll about double that number in the next few hours. The snow will be done by mid-afternoon at the latest. That is what is keeping these snowfall totals below what was originally anticipated, where the expectations were 6 to 10 inches. We're now looking at about 5 to 6 inches of snow, and it's much easier to take that than it is the 10 inches. So it's definitely something to celebrate this morning if you're looking for a small win today on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Emmanuel Cleaver has been very busy on X the last 48 hours. He posted yesterday afternoon, quote, "It is deeply disturbing that President Trump, Vice President Vance, and members of the Trump administration are openly advocating for the flouting of federal court rulings." He says the American people want lower prices, not a constitutional crisis. Now, I may have missed the post on X by Emmanuel Cleaver. I may have missed it when Joe Biden said about student loan debt, "The Supreme Court tried to block me, but they didn't stop me." Do you remember that? I know you do. Do you remember Emmanuel Cleaver being outraged by that? No. Oh, I don't either. But I'm here for you at 913-408-7957 if you have a memory of Emmanuel Cleaver saying something like that. And that was the Supreme Court. That was not some two-bit political huckster judge in a deep blue district who was appointed by Obama or Biden just doing the bidding of his own political party. That was the Supreme Court. So you see what's happening here when it comes to the spending, trying to rein it in, and the way that Democrats are now trying to use the court system in their favor. They're going to favorable judges, and they're basically saying, do us a solid. That's the name of the game. And they're using these unelected judges, just like they talk about Elon Musk. Oh, Elon Musk is unelected. They're using unelected judges to try to stop the duly elected president from trying to find waste and fraud and abuse across the federal government. Ask yourself why that would be and why Emmanuel Cleaver would suddenly be so outraged by this. We haven't heard from Emmanuel. Emmanuel Cleaver wasn't all that loud during the Trump's first administration. Now, all of a sudden, he's very active on social media, and he's even getting in the mix at rallies like this one 2 days ago where he was with Maxine Waters. Take a listen to Emmanuel Cleaver.
One of the greatest joys of my time here in Congress was to work with Maxine Waters, Elizabeth Warren, and Barney Frank to create the CFPB. Now, I'm going to be quick because I want to send a message to somebody. Elon. Take your musty millions and musty Moscow rights to the moon.
Take what?
Because if you don't, we're going to stand up, we're going to speak out, we're going to march, we're going to do anything we need to do to make sure that the people of this country understand that the CFPB is for them. You get your musty hands off of our money.
Is there something about Elon Musk we have to know? Why is he musty? Where does the Elon Musk insult of him being musty come from? Does he have stale, moldy, or damp-smelling hands? Get your musty hands off of my Consumer Protection Bureau agency. The CFPB is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that Emmanuel Cleaver was protesting outside of a couple of days ago. Where does the musty insult come from with Emmanuel Cleaver? That didn't make any sense to me. It still doesn't make any sense to me on the second day I played it now on KCMO. I don't understand it. Emmanuel Cleaver also put up on X yesterday the following post. Elon Musk and President Trump claim they're gutting federal programs to eliminate waste and fraud. In reality, they're kneecapping universities, hospitals, and nonprofits in our communities that play a critical role in finding new treatments and cures for diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's. Oh, please. I mean,
he's a nut job.
Yeah, we were right on the verge of curing cancer until Trump and Elon decided to find wasteful spending in the budget. We were this close, folks, right? We were right on the edge of curing cancer. And then Elon and Trump came in and blew up the whole thing. I mean, even Biden's like, come on, man. Please. You're buying that from Emmanuel Cleaver? My goodness. It's like, what are we trying to hide here? That's the question I keep coming back to. No one's heard from Cleaver in years. He doesn't do any local media. You barely hear from the guy. He's got a cushy job, but he's not doing a whole lot these days. And now he's outraged by Elon Musk. Why might that be? What is the incentive there on Emmanuel Cleaver's side of things to suddenly awaken from his slumber, his multi-year slumber, to start trashing this investigation by the president of the United States? Now, he's appointed somebody to handle it, but the duly elected president of the United States to suddenly come out and attack the guy. Why would the Kansas City congressman go about it that way? Ask yourself that question. 913-408-7957. Jonathan's in Kansas City on KCMO. Go ahead, my friend.
Hey, Pete. I don't know if you remember this, but like years and years ago, former Mayor Cleaver and Representative Cleaver, he I think he spent millions of dollars on this private car wash, and a bunch of taxpayer money went to it, and it was a huge fraud, and it lost tons of money. I guess in light of that and his background, maybe we shouldn't be so surprised that he's standing up for not doing anything about waste in the government. I mean, it sounds like he might have benefited from it. It sounds like a potential conflict of interest.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I genuinely don't know, but it's a very good call.
A man and a woman.
In the words of Emmanuel Cleaver. That goes back 10 years. Bank of America settling its year-long legal dispute with Emmanuel Cleaver over a loan he obtained more than a decade ago to buy a car wash. But the settlement, announced just moments before the dispute was set to go to trial, still leaves Cleaver, his wife, and Cleaver Co. LLC on the hook for more than $1.2 million in future payments to the bank. In a statement, the Kansas City Democrats said the troubled car wash was recently sold and the proceeds were used to pay off part of the original loan, but he said he and his wife will still face payments on the debt, perhaps for years to come. Well, a $1.2 million loan on a congressman making about $200,000, that's a big nut, right? That's a big old chunk of change. And that settlement was 10 years ago. Makes you wonder. The faux outrage around this is something to watch. The people screaming the loudest are the ones that are worth watching here. Got some breaking news here this morning at 7:50, a snowy one across Kansas City, although the snow looks like it's not coming down nearly as fast as it was at about 4 o'clock this morning. So that's a good sign when it comes to what the rest of the day may hold. But Travis Kelce has addressed his future with the Kansas City Chiefs. Talked about it this morning on his New Heights podcast that just dropped. Of course, that's the show with his brother Jason. And Mark, why don't you read to us what Travis Kelce had to say about what his future holds?
All right. He said, I'm just kicking everything down the road, kicking the can down the road. I'm not making any crazy decisions. The biggest thing is just being there for my teammates, being there for my coaches, understanding there's a lot that goes into this thing. I've been fortunate over the past 5 to 6 years, played more football than anybody. It's because of that the people in that building, the fact that we keep going to these AFC championships and Super Bowls means that I've been playing an extra 3 games than everybody else in the league. That's a lot of wear and tear on your body. And it's a lot of time spent in that building working on your craft, working on the task at hand. The process can be grueling. I'm going to take some time to figure it out. I owe that to my teammates, and if I do come back, it's going to be something that's wholehearted decision, not a half-assed thing. I'm fully here for them, and I think I could play. It's just whether or not I'm motivated, if it's the best decision for me as a man, a human, and a person to take on all that responsibility.
I think he's done.
Really?
The minute you start thinking about retirement, the minute you're thinking about 1 foot being out the door, I predict he's going to retire.
Really?
That's what I'm hearing.
Okay.
Now, he's right to note, think about it. They play an extra at least 2, but oftentimes 3 games. I mean, last year it was 4 games. This year it was 3 games. The year before that it was 3 games. So he's probably played an extra season of football the last 5 or 6 years, right? And he's 35 years old. I mean, in the NFL, that's an old man. He'll be 36 in October. I get the sense he's done. I mean, listen, he didn't have a great year, and it's not a knock on him. He's still great in big spots. He was really good against the Houston Texans in that first-round playoff game, or second round technically, divisional round playoff game, when basically the Texans left the middle of the field open, and Kelce can still catch with the best of them. He still has a very unique relationship with Mahomes where they kind of read each other's minds on where to be and when to go off script and things like that. You can practice it, but there's something innate about the relationship between those two. But the fact that he didn't say, I'm pretty confident I'll be back, or I want to be back, my plan is to be back. He talked like a guy who's ready to retire. Don't you think, Mark? Sounds like you don't agree with that, though, or you don't want to agree.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and listen to the whole podcast later today, trying to get a feel for it.
See, here's the thing. I agree. Sometimes it matters what you sound like when you say something. But in this case, I think it's more valuable to see the words that are said.
Mm-hmm.
And he sounds like a guy that's done.
And he's disappointed, too, still. It's a couple days after the loss.
Well, that's true.
So I think maybe in a couple weeks he might have a different
Hold
tone.
on. If the loss was that bothersome to him, right, where he's like, I'm not going out like that. The last you see of me is not going to be getting blown out at a Super Bowl. He would have taken the opposite approach. He didn't say that. He sounded like a guy who's worn out.
Tired, yeah.
He's tired just based on those words. Like, clearly, he knew that was going to be the biggest news item to come out of this podcast. He didn't just wing it when he cracked the mic.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way. And he could have come out ball of fire saying, man, I wasn't sure, but I'm not going out like that. That's not the last you saw of me. We got to give this thing another shot. The minute you start thinking about doing something else in any profession is the minute you've mentally checked out, you're done, and you're not going to be at the top of your game. And I'm not knocking him for that at all. He's had an all-time Hall of Fame career. He may be the best tight end to ever do it. I'm not saying this is the wrong decision for him. I'm just telling you that's what I hear from Travis Kelce when you read that quote to me.
And his brother went through this similar thing 2 years ago, and then he ended up coming back for one more season.
He did.
So, I mean, we'll see. He still has one more year on his deal. So,
and, well, here's the other thing, too. He's got a major cap hit. $19.8 million cap hit, which would be the highest cap hit for the salary cap for a tight end in the entire league. Can you justify that if you're Brett Veach and you're trying to build a team under the salary cap restrictions that you have? Mahomes is a $66 million cap hit. Jones is $35. Jawan freaking Taylor's a $27 million cap hit. Oh, there's another flag on Jawan Taylor at right tackle.
Yeah, next year, here's the last year here.
Joe Tooney, $27 million cap hit. Travis Kelce, $20 million cap hit. That's 5 players, and 63% of the cap space is on 5 players. It's $175 million. There's going to be tough decisions that have to be made this offseason for this team. And I think the money is going to factor in as well. Kelce's sitting on a $100 million podcast deal that he's got waiting for him. And who knows what else in Hollywood. And then the question is, what happens with Taylor? Is he finally going to get down on one knee? Bro, it's been 2 years. Poop or get off the pot. It's time. You're a big boy now. You're going to be 36. It's time to know what you want.
Taylor could also be the motivating factor to do one more year. She could be like, hey, you can only do this one time in your life. I can only tour for so long in my life, so you got to do it while you can, because once you're done, you can't go back.
It's very true, Mark. It's very true. All right. Well, this is worth watching. I didn't think he would say that, to be honest. I thought he would hem and haw a little bit more than he did in that quote you just read to me, which tells me that there may be some serious decisions that have to be made for Travis Kelce.
A farewell tour with Taylor around the NFL would be kind of fun, though. Because everybody will know next year is his last year.
No one wants a farewell. Athletes doing farewell tours are so corny.
It's true. But it would be
Jeter,
fun for us in the Chiefs Kingdom. Everybody would hate it, but we would love it.
Yeah, and I don't want more hatred coming this way. All right, don't do the farewell tour, please. That's a terrible idea. Please don't propose that again. 8:05. Good morning. Glad you're here on a snowy Wednesday across Kansas City on KCMO Talk Radio. The snow is slowing down. At least down here at Corporate Woods. It may pick up once again in a couple of hours, but we will hear from Luke Doris, KCTV5 meteorologist. The chief meteorologist is going to be joining us in just about 10 minutes or so. So get the latest from him. You'll hear that first right here on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio. In the meantime, the inflation numbers came out last hour, hotter than expected, at 3.1% on the inflation year over year. 3.3% core CPI. So that means the inflation was higher when you exclude energy and food prices. So if anyone's going to tell you this is all about eggs, they're wrong. I saw that report from Forbes. They're like, eggs up 15% as inflation hits 3.1. The core CPI being higher than the CPI when the core CPI doesn't include food, i.e. eggs, tells you that it's just right now still across the board, across the entire economy, where things feel a little hot, or they remain a little hot. There's no rate cut coming. That's why you're seeing the Dow futures down a couple hundred to a few hundred points. As the markets get set to open up in 24 minutes, we'll update you on that here on KCMO at 95.7 FM. Now, in the meantime, Elon Musk is the boogeyman. And I got confirmation on this last night when I got an email from my representative, Sharice Davids, here on the Kansas side of the state line. You may have gotten this as well if you're a constituent. But Sharice Davids sent her constituents an email, and it was all about Elon. The subject of the email read, "Urgent, Elon Musk and the budget survey." And I looked and read the entire email from Sharice Davids. Trump's name never showed up. It was all about Elon, which is very telling to me. Clearly, they believe that their best plan of attack is to go after Elon Musk versus going after Donald Trump. Suddenly, the orange man bad is not their best line of attack. Trump's name is not in this email, even as like Donald Trump supporting unelected billionaire Elon Musk. I looked through the whole email. Trump's name doesn't appear. It's all about Elon. So Sharice Davids sends this email out, and she asks this question in the email. And she wants you to take a survey. The question is, how do you think the United States government should address the nation's budget? Well, first off, I laugh at the question because Sharice Davids has been in Congress for going on 7 years now. And you tell me, you people can't balance a budget to save your lives. And now all of a sudden it's like, how should America balance the budget? The fact that Elon even has you talking about balancing the budget, Sharice Davids, is a win for the American people. Because at no point have I heard Sharice Davids talk in any kind of meaningful way about the importance of balancing the budget and getting our spending under control. Have you? I may have missed a town hall here or there. I may have missed one of the voicemails that she leaves me quarterly, but at no point has she taken a serious approach. And frankly, this is not just her. This is Democrats and Republicans who have not cared about balancing the budget or spending in this country for decades now. And Republicans, yes, are cheering this on, and good for them, but I'm not excusing them either. Because Republicans in Congress love to care about spending when they're not in power, and then when they do, they act like a horse's rear end. So I don't want to hear from the Republicans right now. That's why I like the idea of Trump appointing somebody like Elon Musk, who has done more in a week and a half to 2 weeks to uncover some of the absurd spending in this country than Republicans have done in 1.5 to 2 decades. So the Republicans will go rah-rah in Congress, but frankly, I don't want to hear from them right now. I'm not interested in hearing from the Republicans right now. They are doing nothing, and they haven't done anything for the American people for far too long on this front, so I'm not interested. But Sharice Davids certainly has had no interest on the issue, but now that Elon is bringing it to the forefront, well, she's pretending or maybe genuinely caring. I don't know. But here are the options from Sharice Davids on this question in her email that reads, how do you think the United States government should address the nation's budget? The 3 options are as follows in this email. Bipartisan compromise by the people's representatives in the House and the Senate. Entrusting Elon Musk is option number 2. And the third option is other/I don't know. Well, if that's not a leading question looking for a very clear answer, I don't know what is. Obviously, the answer that Sharice Davids is looking for is, of course, we want bipartisan compromise by the people's representatives in the House and the Senate. Where have you been doing that for the last few years? It's been a Republican House with a Democratic Senate and a Democratic White House. Where's that bipartisan compromise to balance the budget and cut spending, which is at historic highs where we're running $2 trillion deficits every single year? You guys had a chance to do that. And now Trump is saying, hey, I'm appointing one of the smartest guys in the world, all right, who is maybe the Einstein of our generation, who has built up incredible companies like Tesla and SpaceX, and he totally revamped formerly Twitter, now X. I'm going to put him on it. I'm the duly elected president, and this guy wants to help us figure out the waste and the fraud and the abuse of the American people's tax dollars, and by golly, he's going to do it. And suddenly that is very offensive to Emmanuel Cleaver in Missouri and Sharice Davids here in Kansas. And Sharice Davids in this email goes on to refer to Elon Musk multiple times as an unelected billionaire. They're showing their hand here in all this is what they're doing. Okay? They're showing their hand. They're claiming that Elon Musk is doing this to try to fleece the American taxpayer and make more money. Elon Musk is worth $400 billion, you imbeciles. Okay? You really think Elon Musk needs the federal government to make money? I mean, yes, the federal government has had these electric vehicle mandates, and they've had these EV tax credits, which have theoretically helped Tesla. But here's the thing. Elon Musk is so smart, he doesn't need the government to become the richest man in the world. You clowns do. How many people in Congress with $200,000 salaries are worth tens of millions of dollars? Too many to count. They're showing their hand. They're proving to us what they allegedly might be by claiming it's Elon. He's the one. He just wants to become a super duper billionaire, maybe a trillionaire. No. See, here's the thing. He doesn't need the government to become a billionaire. He doesn't need the government to become rich because he actually has talents and skills and smarts, unlike most of you. 913-408-7957. Rick in Leavenworth, go ahead. You're on KCMO.
Yes. Hey, thank you. So I don't want so first of all, I'm a conservative, and I voted for Trump. I want a real budget. I don't want a CR. I want Congress to do their job, and I want there to be the balance of power. Now, I'm okay with what Elon Musk is doing, but I'm wary of it because he isn't elected, and I want him to have access to everything, root it out, write it all down, give it to the president to give to Congress to do it the right way, because there is a constitutional way here, and to then implement all those recommendations, whether it be get rid of this, place or access money. That's what I want, because that he just can't do it unilaterally. I love the president. He's doing the right things, but there is a process here. We have a balance of power. Like I said, I am a constitutionalist, and I want it done right. But I voted for these people to find this stuff, and I want them to. Yeah. But let's do it right. Otherwise, it's going to be undone.
Absolutely. Listen, I totally agree. Whatever can be done through the office of the presidency, thank you, Rick, I want done through the presidency. But yes, in the end, I also want Congress to do its job, the House to do its job, and make some broader cuts that then are enacted through congressional approval. I think both those things can happen and should happen at the same time. I am totally with you there. But there are certain things that, listen, the president does have the right to do, to shrink government. And frankly, I don't want to wait for Congress, Republicans or Democrats, because they all waste our time. Go ahead, Paul, in Kansas City. You're on KCMO.
Hey, Pete, a couple of points. You're exactly right. CNN just did a whole block attacking Musk, and that's going to be their attack as they move forward. Secondly, Congress has the power of the purse, right? Well, they've done nothing. What Musk and his team have done is gone in line item by line item in budgets and appropriations and done stuff in 3 weeks that Congress hadn't done in 50 years. So don't tell me about this power of the purse. You guys have done nothing, Sharice Davis or Emmanuel Cleaver. And secondly, once they get done with this, they need to make sure that it goes through the congressional and they act on what Musk is finding, because he's finding grift, he's finding corruption, and he's finding fraud. When you send an invoice out from Treasury and you got no code and you got no justification, that's ridiculous. Nobody does that. So, one other point, talking about Musk getting information on private citizens. I worked for the government at Fort Leavenworth, and my SF-86, which is the Forum for Security Information, which has got everything on you, was hacked by the Chinese thousands of, if not tens of thousands of government employees got their information hacked. And all the OPM IT director said to Congress was, well, that's the way it goes. So don't tell me about private information. I don't want to hear it.
Thank you, Paul. Let's go to Dan in Overland Park. Go ahead, Dan. You got a minute. You're on KCMO.
Yeah, I support what Trump and Elon are doing, but if Elon and Trump weren't doing what I wanted done, I would be mad as all get out about this, because there is a huge potential for conflict of interest given Musk's numerous government contracts and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and listen, that is where you're right, and that is where Congress has to also be a part of the equation here. I totally agree with you. But the fact that we're having this conversation, Dan, about the levels of waste and alleged fraud that is out there across the federal government is the first step, right? It's like when you've got a problem, and I don't care what that problem is, God forbid, drinking, drugs, pornography. The first thing you have to do is admit you've got one. And you got to have clear examples of what those problems are. And I feel like we're in that phase of this right now. And then Trump knows what he can and can't do, what he can and can't cut, trying to buy people out of contracts. And then ultimately, yes, Congress is going to play a role in this. But the president also has a right to evaluate and look at some of the spending that's out there and determine whether or not there's something he can do about it.